So you obviously know what Islam's view is on Jews, right? And the general scripture and what it tells us about Jews and how they are like scum and pigs and their scriptures have been corrupted and all of that kind of jazz. But look what's actually happening in the wider world. Look who is coming to the rescue of Afghan women. Can you see this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So,
looking
ultra
trigger.
Orthodox Jewish group funding escape for abused Afghan refugees. This article is quite intense in terms of some of the like traumatic incidents described. So, just giving a disclaimer. But after the Taliban took control of Afghanistan this past August, Mariam, a 27-year-old event manager, knew it was dangerous to walk alone on the streets of her home province located north of Kabul. Sharia law forbids women being unescorted. But this past November, she decided to take a chance and take a taxi to a market. Literally, something as basic as taking a taxi to a market. It would turn out to be one of the worst days of her life. Outside the market, a car pulled up alongside her and doors swung open. I felt myself being pushed, she told the Post. Suddenly, I was in a car with Taliban men. Oh my God, literally your worst nightmare. They took me to a house and began touching my body. Mariam, who was wearing a hijab and completely covered in fabric, except for her eyes, thought she was about to be raped as retribution for being solo. But then one of her attackers said, I have a better punishment for this girl, don't touch her. He reached for a bowl, it contained boiling hot water, said Mariam. He threw the water on me and it burned my skin. They said that if I tell anyone about this, they'll kill me and my entire family. Then they pushed me out of the house and said, we don't want to see you again. Mariam's clothing clung to the second and third degree burns forming on the lower half of her body. Once her garments were removed, her skin ripped away and the pain intensified. Mariam could not see a doctor because of where the burns were, said her sister Ramina, who's 26. They were on her legs and so close to her private area. There are no female burn specialists in Afghanistan. If she stayed in her home province, Mariam now believes she would have died from festering infections or at the hands of the Taliban. Fortunately, Ramina had worked as a prosecutor and dealt with members of an organization called Team Themis. Dedicated to getting endangered and abused people out of Afghanistan, Themis helped arrange passage to Spain for Ramina and Mariam. But that escape plan failed when a suicide bomber blew himself up at Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 26th. Some of you must definitely remember this explosion at the airport because it caused chaos for America and the whole withdrawal. Outbound flights were cancelled. We were at the Abbey Gate 3 hours before it happened, explaining that they tried maneuvering into the airport but left when it appeared hopeless. If we stayed at the gate, we could have been killed. So the sisters are still alive now, thankfully, and they're in Pakistan. For that, they can thank Themis, the organization run by ultra-Orthodox Jews. The humanitarian aid organization based in Chicago is headed up by America's Sarah Lane and Mary Bill, a civil rights advocate and Navy Special Operations Support veteran, respectively. So they are seasoned at removing victimized people from dangerous situations around the globe. The pair do work that is funded and supported by a small group of anonymous US-based ultra-Orthodox Jewish benefactors, along with a group called Afghan Rescue Project and others. Using this funding, the women help arrange tightly timed escapes from Afghanistan and take care of evacuees when they reach safety. Since August, Themis has helped some 2,500 Afghans get out. There are a couple of high net worth individuals who believe that you serve God by serving one another. So, for everything the Quran tells us about Jews, look at their position here and what they're doing to help humanity and Muslims in this case. Rabbi Meir Zachi, who heads up the Jewish Health Organization and represents the benefactors, told the Post, there's a belief that no human being's freedom should be compromised. The benefactors put in millions of dollars to make sure that does not happen. So Jews are stepping in here to rescue Muslims from the hands of the Taliban after they've been abused by the Taliban. So Muslims out there who are hating on Jews, it's time for a bit of that, that horrible introspection. But I
Yeah,
mean, just
sorry, go on.
speaking from a purely humanitarian perspective, like for all of the anti-Semitism that the Quran reeks of, on an actual practical sense, saving your own Muslim people from the hands of their Muslim Islamic state is the very same people that your God calls pigs. And, like it's beautiful irony in that sense that, look, these are the people who, even though they believe in God and whatever their own concepts of God are, they actually know that what is happening in Afghanistan under the Taliban is wrong on all accounts, and there is just human life being abused, and that is happening in an Islamic theocracy.
But as
If I'm not mistaken,
Alexandria, yeah,
Alexandria, yeah.
as she said that, yeah, she recognizes she's in a privileged position in a way, which is again, that's no discredit to your own experiences, because we all want to have better experiences, not bad experiences. So it doesn't matter whether they are the worst experiences in the world or they are the worst experiences of your life. So, but having said that, look at this story that you just shared with us. There are literally women like that. They're just going through that kind of. I mean, you have to be really strong to be able to put up with that. I mean, and the will to survive and the will to go on from this. When you're when you I don't have any words. I mean, I can't imagine if something like this happens to you, then how do you bounce back from this? How do you keep living, and how do you say, okay, I'm going to put this behind me, this trauma, I'm going to put this behind me, and I'm going to start again, or
Well, there's so
vengeance.
much to it, like all we can do, which is so like helpless and kind of just sometimes it's like, well, what's the point? But we can just share this article. But imagine, like, usually, I mean, even if something as horrific as that was to happen here, I know that at least after something, when you're in that state of shock and you're going through this trauma and you're just kind of going through the motions, you would get access to like medical attention or things like that. But those things that you naturally would expect as a result are still battles they have to fight for every single type of battle. Like there was no female burn expert there, and then there's a whole elements of like honor and shame, and how do you show a doctor your burn marks near your private parts. These are all things that we can take for granted in the West, but the problem, like, this is just getting the girls to safety in Pakistan, where by all means, like, that's not their last point of destination. They're trying to get to Spain, which is a whole nother thing in itself. But
Pakistan alone is not the safest country in the world either.
exactly. Well, what did you just share earlier with us? Like, Pakistan is no way a safe haven. It's just the next best thing from Afghanistan for these people at that time. But in terms of like her, after going through this trauma, the fact that she could die just from those like third-degree burn injuries, like, by itself, because there's a lack of medical attention, all of these amplified problems that we're seeing in Afghanistan, like, like you're saying, to fight against this and get to safety, and then have to think about, how do I deal and comprehend this trauma and work through it and start to live like a as much of a normal, healthy person that you can after going through an experience like that. Some people will never recover and never have access to the therapy and resources. But yeah, it was just it was very, very nice to see that religion did not play a factor in this issue, and they just saw human life in danger for what it is. And whatever their beliefs are in God, if they are like benign like this, for you to spend billions of dollars to like enable private jets to get people out of a country who you are religiously at loggerheads with, it was a beautiful thing to see. If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.